First, may the Almighty guide to deliver this message clearly and awfully in your sight. We wish to share with those who wish to learn about the Most High, specifically His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie. His Eminency embodies the personality and the permanency of man's relationship with divinity, perfect unity, the birthplace of mankind originally and before. Thus the Trinity is older than the earth. Haile means power, the energy, the Y sequence. This is the unseen. Triune is the formation of life elementally, past, future, and presently. This is the science of His name and reality. It was revealed November 2nd, 1930, to establish permanent sovereignty, ending the era of white supremacy. Explore, aligning cosmically the North Star and the Ethiopian king magnetically. Call in the age of Aquarius millennially, above and below heavenly, opening our DNA to memory. That was the prelude before began the earth. Let us begin at the King of King's birth. 1892, there have been no rain. A warrior's father, Rasmus Canaan, Ethiopian, devout Christian, fell in love with Yeshima Bet Ali, descendant of the Prophet Muhammad in Islam. Together they were linking three religions. Being Rasmus Canaan is an offspring of King Solomon. And there were also hermits and prophets from those faiths. They came with the same dread message to relate. Though it's deeper than anybody can contemplate, I'll repeat it what they say before it's late. Know that until you a son will be born, he shall be the greatest of leaders. And to Africa he will be the redeemer, and he will be judge and he will be father. There is a warning that you must hear, and in his head, if he ever touches mother, he will be dead. Rasmus Canaan, confused in grief, held fast to his faith and his belief. July 23rd, 1892, it thundered, and Tafari never saw his mother. It rained so hard, it was the birth of a conqueror, not next in line to be an emperor. He was born in a hut, like a king and creator. To remember, he is to be the sweet and bitter. In Hurrah, the acacia tree was planted over his umbilical cord as an inspired word from the months before that he is the savior. According to his word, all wisdom and truth revealed itself in his baptism, impressing the priest and the sages through meditation. A small and fragile son got left orphaned at the feet of the Abyssinian Emperor Menelik, a promise that had been neglected and would lead to global remission. At age 13, Tafari became governor with the title Rastafari, meaning and worthy of reverence and fear. Watched as the house of David became like King Lear. He was the last chance when it became perilous. The king's son got sick with syphilis. Yesu was joining with the Turks, is where he got his weapons. He was waging a war on all the Christians. The church and the empress prayed for Rastafari to be victorious. He fought for many days, after which he changed history on a world stage. The daughter of Menelik, Empress Taweto, saw a 5'5" man, and she knew for Ethiopia, elect of himself and Jah. Revelations 5:5, behold the Lion of Judah. Judah is Ethiopia, it can only be there. Eventually the King of Kings would reveal himself, woolly hair, feet of burnt brass, and eyes of flame fire. Rose dipped in blood, root of David and conqueror. Song of songs, kept in the gods of the Union of Sheba. Next to Queen Omega is King Alpha, Empress and Emperor. Only free country, never to succumb to foreign invaders. Oh, last remaining in all of Africa. Show the world the first of a car. Black King of Kings and Queen of Kings, one with the Most High, with a new name, Jah Rastafari. I Selassie, with Mama Menelik by his side. More than 72 nations fell to their knees, holding the scepter, pronouncing the Davidic monarchy. Declared the first African respected globally, with over 80 pages in National Geographic and the front cover of Time magazine. Bold letters, King of Kings for all to see. Revelations 5, 10, and 19. His first act was to outlaw slavery. For the first time, Ethiopians had an emperor with total authority. He then stepped in the League of Nations, known already internationally. First African admitted and the first to be betrayed when Italy, when Mussolini. in Italy, and in Pope, in the Vatican, plotted violently, violating security, invading the sovereignty with heavy machinery. Yeah, the day came when Haile Selassie could take no more, and stirred the conscience when he spoke for. The agreements reminded them about the law. Me today, you tomorrow, it will be war. And Europe, as you know, it gets devoured. A short time later, they saw Hitler invaded France and England, allied with the Vatican, so-called Christians fighting Christians. It was clear, his prophetic judgment. Selassie I reclaimed this country quick, with unparalleled courage and forgiveness. A declaration of mercy that had never been witnessed, knowing peace in the end is in everyone's interest. Back to the throne, had been 5 years long. Both he and his son had stepped on their moms. Photographed for all to no job was there alone. First things first, collectively created a constitution, developed airports, schools, and communications. Made his palace the university, where he made himself personally the dean. Striving to take education ministry to the peak. Wrote a translation of the Bible and the Quran for all to read. Called to liberate Africa totally in Addis Ababa, the King City, headquarters of an organization of African unity, working together ceaselessly for all Africans to be free. Calling communities to realize our greatness and solidarity. After bringing down the league, he co-founded the United Nations in New York City. He co-wrote the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, encouraging humanity to stand up and fight. First came to the United States in 1954. The Lion of Judah on the front page of the newspaper. America meets the Ethiopian emperor. Moved by his words, they open up the front door. He sent shockwaves already to the inner slums. Black folk, coffee ice, and far out of Harlem. And that's the start of Afro-American Italian friction. Legacy of an older Jamaican attribution. Marble, lend a house shepherd, afterlife unsung. The song telling the black man to be strong. In the West, his imperial majestic fulfilled prophecy, spoken by many, including Garvey. His thoughts seated in the minds that could never fade. He inspired Kenyatta, Malcolm X, and JFK. He is the law the world had saw, the imprint of the lion paw. The Jamaican newspaper on the Gleaner show. Upon his head are many crowns, he sits on Zion throne. In his red robes, his name freed the whole island from the illusions of the King of England. Birthed a movement of resistance, called by his name Rastafari, not a Rastafarian. The 60s was such a powerful period. This is when Haile Selassie got more serious. Africa removing the yokes of white rule, joined with Asia and islands to make things new. Peacefully in most cases, only but a few could not grasp what was coming into view. There was a country named Rhodesia and South Africa, and we're still down to present people called Akala. So King Selassie I sent them far. Many warriors, including Nelson Mandela. Wheeling in the palace was Marie Makiba. Empress met and given him 6 children. War to the whole nation, she is our teacher. Listen, is the greatest mama. Rastafari knew his work had just started. To nearly every country on earth he departed. Millions came out just to see him. In New York City was the biggest moment for integration. Arriving just days after Brown versus Board of Education was passed. America knowing they dare not move too fast. The king walked slow, so don't make him wrath. His majesty rolled all through the south. Not one word against Ethiopia would come from a mouth. When he met JFK at the White House, live on TV, black and white dancing officially. It was a massive party fitting a royalty. Tomorrow questions for the emperor on NBC, knowing at the UN he would make his famous war speech. The world froze hearing his words echoing. A king that doesn't believe in the future of classism, let alone racism or fascism. He ain't with him. Good over evil, fight the system. Stop referring to us as black and white, get wisdom. Be specific people and regions, no disillusions, peaceful solutions, open up communion. Haile Selassie, I went to the Abraham Lincoln Memorial with respects to thee. Repeated, we highly resolved, and the dead died not in to head everyone else to the rear. Wasn't long before the assassination of MLK. Selassie was the only African head of state in an overcoat of gray with flowers at his grave. Speaking of the only African head of state, if I may, in 1966 he arrived in JA, in this island known for sunshine and reggae. In Latin the word means the king's music, a little etymology. Though independent and so-called free, the dreadlocks and beardsmen stay in gullies. They were considered outlaws and fugitives not allowed on the street. He came out of the sky after the rain. The conquering lion flew down in his plane. Sunshine came out and the dove flew, and behold, the dreaded Rastaman with drums stood there bold. The plane landed and the people roared, shaking time itself. The Redeemer arrived with power and wealth. Jamaicans pushed down the police and ran to the stairs. They lit incense, sang, and it said, "Enjoy Selassie." I teared. The ceremony was abandoned. The government was surprised it didn't go to plan. Whoa, but not Selassie. He requested Marley's Eldo, Motomo, Plano. The king said, "Be still and know I am." Warrior traders and priests walked through the people like Moses parting the Red Sea. They thought Selassie would refute the dreads. Instead, he said, "Bring them to the king's house. I will break these chains and the borders, presenting gold medals to different Rastafari orders. Explain that they are blood Ethiopians, not foreigners, paid for with school and church to unite the four corners, confirming Rastafari identity. He gave us the language called Shashamani. He hailed up the tomb of Marcus Garvey, received so many doctorates and honorary degrees, to so many cemeteries, laid so many wreaths. In Oklahoma, the indigenous, the Aki, bestowed the name for Selassie, Great Buffalo Chief, called by Nixon, the spirit of humanity, called by Johnson, the most prophetic man to speak, and Nixon stayed at his palace when he sought inner peace. He blessed His Majesty in Amharic glass, lifted publicly in the Oval Office for all to see, to repair the breach, the rift between the nations. Selassie called for reconciliation. As an example, he met the Pope in the Vatican. His legacy had already humbled the Romans, asking themselves, who are the real Christians? Applauded by the Italians from the balcony that Mussolini once stood, Selassie was honored the best way they could. The tiny monarch was such a powerful example. He inspired the Second Vatican Council, an attempt to redeem and unify, knowing it was they that were the ones that had Christ crucified. Countless Ethiopians died, and still we rise in Selassie. On the subject of the church, he brought the Eastern Orthodox fathers together. They had affirmed themselves in over 1,000 years, so the emperor applauded the decisions previously in Nicaea, reminding them we are not Romans here in Africa and in Asia. In the Sepulchre in Jerusalem is where we put our faith, yeah. Later sent the troops to help fight tyranny in Korea, united with Egypt side by side with President Nasser. Told Israel their policy is disaster, restored the bonds, the upper and the lower Kemet Ethiopia, condemned nuclear weapons as a violation of Mother Nature and the Creator. First innovators, he said if you don't know India, you don't know history at all. Selassie, a yoga master, rode an elephant around Taj Mahal, Cushitic king that could never fall. The year is 1974, right before a civil war in Ethiopia, commonly known as the Red Terror. The August Emperor, now 82, had over 50 years of rule. He made his mission progress in schools. The students and the spirited youth, naturally after seeing the West, became rooted in a coup. Russia and the United States saw an opening and made a move to create a proxy war involved Libya and Cuba too. Regionally, it was a perfect zone for conflict religiously, preying on the divisions of the people who want autonomy, hijacking the militaries of Eritrea and the Somalis, and the Russians had that covered completely. And America don't like monarchies that show a better governance than democracy. Masons and the Illuminati said chaos and poverty would leave the ultimate sting. They wanted to remove from them and the earth their history of kings. With narcissism, they spread it amongst the Ethiopians, ushering in blood and atheism, even in the highest places of the church that was backed by it. Haile Selassie, I knew, he saw the vision. They wanted himself to kill the children as he protected the government. BBC used starvation to pay for programming, profiting off hungry Africans, exploiting, blew away out of proportion, with no idea where they were starting, what was to come. The wisest of the wise, Emperor Selassie, I said no, do not return, and so it would blow. They think it's good, so much they don't know. Rather than fight my own, sit down, have a go. We're all aware who I am, the King of Kings said with a sigh. They knew and had said, what if he is and can't die? If we do him wrong, for sure we will fry. His Majesty left to another palace, leaving judgment alone to those who organize a coup to overthrow the throne. Ready to help in the interest of the people, he walked with the guards like they were eagles. With kindness, his movement flowed to the chapels. With the military everywhere, he went into St. Stephen's Cathedral. He went to pray and disappeared. This was the day the Derg government worst feared. The mask came off and the Cuban devils, with the Ethiopians commenced with the perils, murdered the students and many of the royal family. Many of them were rescued by the UN and Bob Marley. Blood ran in the streets, a terrible judgment would come. Over the next 20 years, the Derg murdered millions. In the first time in history, an exodus of Ethiopians on the run, including his son. To this day, there is no scientific or forensic evidence that His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie is dead. His Imperial Majesty's impact on planet Earth continues to enrich and inspire millions daily. Ethiopia is recovering and restoring her great legacy. In closing, may my words be acceptable to the Most High Jah. My Father, I thank you, Jah, for being the authors of a history that awoke and set my soul alight. Awareness in man dwells the Most High. Rastafari.
His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, and Emperor of Ethiopia since 1930.
Recently recovered the throne and illness, I decided to come myself to defend the cause of my people.